What's up, YouTubes? So I wanted to do this video because I feel like I owed you a little bit more, or maybe myself, I don't know, a little bit more on the Volvo S80 2007 Volvo S80 V8 job. So as you can see, there is no Volvo here, just the residue left behind. But I just wanted to give you a little recap of kind of the nightmare of a job that this was. So let me just kind of, I guess I'll start out by saying that the primary issue with doing anything related to power steering pump, serpentine belt, the serpentine belt tensioner, the pulleys, the power steering lines, anything on this, the general message is that there are extremely tight tolerances in this platform. And then once you do get into actually having to do these repairs, you'll find that there's a cascading list of parts that you're going to probably want to buy or have to buy once you start tinkering with this thing. So this one, a power steering leak in the high pressure line caused the original steering pump to fail, and the pump is located, right under this area of the engine, under this little plastic cover. So because partly I think due to the difficulty and the annoyances of this engine and the extremely tight tolerances, the high pressure steering line was improperly installed by whoever was fiddling with it last. And so because they did not secure, they basically just chucked one of the brackets that keeps the the high pressure line away from this part of the pulley. So there's some rigid lines right back here, and one of these lines turns to like a flexible hose, and it comes up and over this way, and then up to another rigid part and connects to the pump. Well, there's this massive bracket, and for the life of me, I still have no idea where the thing actually goes, because I got a new one as part of the new hose. Tried for a long time to figure out where the heck it would go, and I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find diagrams, pictures. I couldn't find anything anywhere, and so I came up with an alternate solution. But due to that, whoever put it on last, they did it wrong. A hole wore through it, and it also caused some fraying to the serpentine belt on the side, just due to bumping into that hose repeatedly for who knows how long. So, and then once you realize you have to take off the intake manifold to get to it, you realize, I should probably replace the intake manifold gaskets. Which it's not a big deal. I mean, you can get those for about $40 on either Rock Auto or FCP Euro. Then when you're popping the manifold off, most likely you're going to have a little PVC hose that's probably going to be cracked. This one had about 100,000 miles on it, or just under, and it was cracked. So that was like another $20. There's some coolant lines and hoses that are a pain to get around the throttle body to disconnect. I ended up replacing a couple of those little hoses, which were almost impossible to get pliers in to undo. I ended up replacing a couple of them with like traditional hose clamps to make it easier to put back together and make life better for the next guy. So far at this point, not like a huge deal, but the first real big issue I ran into was the difficulty of compressing the tensioner to attempt to remove the serpentine belt. And so you'll see this, this right here is the tensioner. And so you have to get kind of a shallow 19 millimeter 6-point socket which only a 3/8 inch breaker bar would fit on this thing of mine. I tried a bigger one. I couldn't get a 1/2 inch to fit in there because it's so tight. But then what you have to do, the tricky thing is you'll pull, you'll pull this direction, and on the one that's in this vehicle that I worked on, there was a spring, and once it'll like feel like it bottoms out, like it's stopped, but it's nowhere near enough to actually pull the belt off. At that point, you have to, like, I guess, pause, and then there's like a damper, and then you have to apply a significantly larger amount of force, at least I did, in order to then get that thing to then get the damper to start to release so you can get the belt off. That ends up posing a very similar challenge, when you go to put this thing back together later. I really don't like the design of this tensioner. It's like the worst one I've ever had to deal with. You should probably replace it. I think due to the difficulty, people end up stripping this 19 millimeter part out, which is just aluminum. It's not actually a bolt. This piece, I'm sorry. So the purple piece that you see here, that's actually a 10 millimeter Allen, and that's one of the bolts that holds this thing on. And then I think this up here, I can't remember if that's like a 10, 12 millimeter. I think it's 12 millimeter. It's just like a nut. But this little blue, this little piece right here is just a piece of aluminum in the shape of a nut, 19 millimeter 6-point. That's what you're cranking on to detension this thing. So anyways, people have broken these. I can see why. You have to be really careful with this thing. And then there's a chance that if you over torque this 10 millimeter Allen when you're putting it back, it could break. You could cause all kinds of damage. Like there's a lot of like kind of bad stuff that can happen if you don't do this just right. So anyway, get the belt off, or at least get the tension off. Well, that's when the next nut kick to the nuts is coming. So what you'll find is that once you are able to slip the belt off of most of these pulleys, let me see here. And I believe most of these photos came from the gentleman that's left comments on here from Australia. One of the fellow travelers who's been deeply, I think, scarred by this job. But let me see here. So if you look at this crank pulley right here, so take a look at that, and then let's see. I'm gonna show you. Okay, so this is that crank pulley, and this is a lower engine mount. So I haven't, in one of the other videos you could see, but there's almost no clearance between this point and this point. So that's where the belt just won't come off. But this problem's not that big a deal, because once you realize that you have to support the engine underneath, have the upper, mounts disconnected, which you already have to have in order to get to this point. I had a jack under the engine, had the engine supported with a jack. I had an engine support bar up top holding up, and then I took out these two bolts, cranked up the left side, facing the engine, the left side of the engine, just a couple millimeters, and then I could slide that off. So, okay, so that's something that maybe you're not expecting to do, that you have to do on this job. So that was one of the kicks to the nuts. But really putting those bolts, getting those engine mount bolts out and lifting it up and setting it back, it's really not that bad. Once you know that you've got to do it, it's just likely maybe you don't realize that going into it. So you're trying to figure it out for a little while first. But anyways, so then what's next after that? So So here's the next thing is, I guess at this point you could have, depending on how much you jacked up the engine, or just like due to the age of these engine mounts on it, the engine mounts could be, bad. Like the rubber, I guess, could be bad enough that you just need to replace those too. So now you got to go figure out, it's at least $100, I think, for the one I was just showing you, that lower one. But like, as far as like the rest of them, I don't even know. So now maybe you're in this for, a new belt, maybe a new tensioner, and then so if you look here, there's an idler pulley on part of the tensioner, and then there's one here that goes with an engine mount, and then there's this one here. And so for me, if this was my car and I was doing this job for myself, yeah, I would have replaced the tensioner. I would have replaced this pulley and this pulley, or at least I would have made the attempt. I was helping my neighbor out. I wasn't provided with those parts. I gave that recommendation. But here's where, if you're gonna change that out, you get the next kick in the nuts. So this pulley right here, I believe, or this idler pulley, you can't get this bolt out because the little metal other side of the fender or whatever, it's in the way, right? And apparently they put a hole there just to be able to pull this out, but it's too high, right? So it's not lined up right. On top of that, the flange of this this bolt is too wide to fit through the hole anyway. So what Anthony in Australia says he did was he jacked this whole thing up. So I just did like 2 millimeters. Well, you had to go farther, apparently like 1.5 centimeters, in order to get this bolt to line up with the hole where you can actually extract it. But once you undo it, before you can extract it, you have to like file off the edge of like a flange on that bolt. And then maybe once you have that off, maybe you can like use like a step bit or something to drill out that hole. I don't know. I didn't do that part because like I said, I wasn't provided those parts, and and I didn't want to be responsible for like jacking up the engine, to a point where engine mounts could get damaged. I was not going to do that. So the way that I did it, there was very little to no movement at all of the engine mounts, no damage to those, and I kept the tensioner and the idler pulleys, because I just wasn't provided those parts. So okay, so that said, if you know all of this, okay, maybe, if you really love these things, maybe this is doable. Like you can deal with this. Just be prepared for, like I said, a cascading list of parts that you're going to need. So let me see, where else, what else do I want to let you know? Okay, so something that I, so I'm just going to show you like the list. So what I had to replace was this line. And so this was its own nightmare in and of itself, because this part that connects to the power steering pump on the American passenger side, right? And these lines have to get routed so they go follow. So I had to route take this whole thing out through the American driver's side wheel well over here, and I had to feed the whole thing back in this way. There are 90-degree bends here, and then all these chunky brackets. Definitely removed this one in order to be able to snake it through the passenger side. But like, we're talking about absolute nightmare 3D Tetris to get this thing through. Like, it took me hours, but I did it. It is possible. So I the only reason I believed it was possible to put it back in was because I had taken it out. But if you look at this end right here, there's a little metal bracket with a single bolt that holds both of these lines in on the right American driver's side, right where these attach. In order to put the bolt in, you can't do it without cross threading if the little bracket that holds both of these in is flush to the like little steering assembly housing. You had to have the whole thing kind of backed out a little bit just so that the flange of the bolt would clear the metal line. If you ever have to do this, you'll know what I'm talking about. But that's just like one more little, it's just like every little step of the way was like technical difficulty. To disconnect this, you had to use, let me see if I have one over here. I was just cleaning up here. I'm not sure where I put them. I think they're over here somewhere. So had to use one of these little, so this one, you can see like I actually cut one of these in half. I guess these are like Ford style fuel line disconnects. These didn't work. These were like too thick to fit under there, so these plastic ones worked, but I just had to cut one in half to get it on the line. But yeah, that was to get out the little fitting that snaps on over this. That's what you had to do. So let me see here. So I replaced this part. I replaced the reservoir. Bought a cheaper one on Rock Auto. This design, super not user-friendly because the filtration, at first I thought, okay, maybe fluid is like pushed in here and then sucked out this way so that you could see debris on the filter. No, it's the opposite way. So if there's debris from these lines, which is why FCP Euro has a kit replacing the low pressure side of the line, because I guess rubber can like break off this hose and clog up this. You can't see that though without cutting the thing open. There's no way to get to it. So it's like, in order to know if it's clogged up, like you almost have to, I mean, you can try and like look in there, but you won't be able to see much. It's like you'll be able to see almost nothing. So you won't really know if like chunks of hose are clogging that thing up very easily. So anyway, they sell this whole kit with like the manifold gasket, the right steering fluid, a reservoir, a low pressure hose, a gasket kit for the pump, which you already saw in the video how, you know, I kind of messed up when I was dealing with that pump. But fortunately put it back together and it was all working just fine. So the way that I told you how I put those blades, it seems proper, right? So that all worked. So anyway, those are the parts. Those are kind of like the main issues that I ran into doing this job. And then finally, when I was getting it all put back together, even the airbox, like the grommets for the airbox, they didn't want to line up properly. So they were just very difficult, right? Not like most other airboxes I've ever dealt with. So even that wanted to fight me. So in short, if you have the opportunity to do this job, you could either just you could do the job, or you could watch this video. You could have somebody kick you in the nuts, 5 to 10 times, and then maybe you could like feel kind of similar to how I did when I got done with this. So ultimately, what I would say about this car is, this is an enthusiast vehicle. So if you're going to buy one, just know what you're getting into. No doubt the engine's good, it sounds good, it looks good, but doing this job will do trauma to you, and eventually you're going to come back to this video or the handful of others on the interwebs, and you're going to leave out comments reaching out to like the other poor suckers who took a beating from this thing. And you know, once you know all the little nuances and tricks, maybe you'll say, oh, it's not that bad. It really is. So I hope this helps whoever's, you know, fighting this job. Sorry you don't have a car to look at. It's over at my neighbor's place. But gonna finally get on the Golf R next, but I felt like I owed you this update at least. So anyway, that's it on the Volvo. Oh yeah, one last thing. I forgot to introduce you to Mr. Nubbins. So this is the leftover bit. This is the 10 millimeter that had to cut off of a Allen key in order to slot into the 10 millimeter tensioner bolt, release bolt. And then what you have here is what you're gonna wanna get if you don't have one, which is the, is it called a flare nut? So it's not just a regular crow's foot, right? Like a regular crow's foot is just like open from here straight across. This one's got a couple extra little grabbers, and it's gonna hold that guy nice and secure and allow you to torque down to that, I think, 90 Newton meters. So anyway, Mr. Nubbins, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna need a Mr. Nubbins. I think there's a factory tool you can maybe buy too, but otherwise, yeah, probably cut one about, I don't know, thumb width, I guess. Just depends on how big your thumb is. But yeah, good luck.